Hey everyone, this is Renee from Tippy.com. Welcome to our weekly show focused on everything iPhone, from news and how-tos to app and accessory reviews. This is iPhone Live.
iPhone Live is brought to you by the Tippy iPhone Accessory Store, your one-stop shop for cases, cables, chargers, and much, much more. Check out store.tippy.com. See you there.
It's Wednesday, November 23rd, and joining me tonight is the co-host of Iterate and the CIO of Nickelfish, Mr. Seth Clifford. How are you, Seth?
I'm doing well, Renee. How are you?
It's been a bit of a day, Seth. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat it like it's a pretzel and I'm trying to make it something sweet when it's really savory. It's been a bit of a day.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but hopefully this will turn it around for you.
Well, it already has, Seth. Just seeing you on the verge of another Superman curl, I am...
we're weeks away.
I am beginning to have faith in the universe again. Speaking of faith in the universe, and not the good kind, but the rogue vampire slayer faith kind, also joining us is the host of iPad Live, Zen and Tech, and the #1 gadget podcast in iTunes last week, Girls Gone Gadgets. It is Georgia. How are you, Georgia?
Very cool, isn't it? I'm stressed. It's been a long day, but I'm really excited to be here. And I have to say, I'm wearing my Elven arm warmers. Look, I don't know
Are those mithril?
They could be mithril, but they're pretty soft mithril. And these are made. They're handmade on Etsy, and they're amazingly warm and affordable. And I absolutely adore them. They're done by what is it called? It's by Catherine Erskine, and I'll send a link for those that want to take a look at them. They're like fabulous.
If you would like to look like Georgia or the Lady Galadriel, you can get a pair.
Yes, exactly.
And by Galadriel, I mean after she did take the ring and became the Dark Queen. That sort of Galadriel, not the nice one who went to the West.
I'm all good with that.
Georgia would have just snatched that ring from Frodo. Give me that. It wouldn't even have been a debate.
Can I ask what seems to be a stupidly obvious question?
Sure. Why stop now?
Why not just wear long sleeves? Since you're pretty much covering your entire arm with this material.
Well, the nice thing about it is that I can choose to wear my t-shirts that I want to wear. And there's other things that sometimes are a little bit baggy, and you can wear them underneath them. I think they actually look really cute. And I like to wear t-shirts, so I'm comfy.
Why do men wear ties, Seth? I mean, there are all these questions to which I have no answers.
You can even wear them with a dress. They're really adorable. She has them in all kinds of different colors. It's by Design Room London in Etsy, and they're really cute. They're cute, warm, and fun.
Can I transition us from Fashion Live to iPhone Live?
Please do.
All right. So
I'm buying some for Seth.
Nice.
No, thank you.
For his Legolas costume next year. We have done Tippy TV number 24. Seth, have you watched this yet?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
Oh,
we have.
All right, listen. I told you I saved it in my watch later list, and I have some time over the next couple of days because we have the holidays. So
oh no,
I will
sir,
definitely,
you
I will
are
definitely
going
be
to
watching
watch it now. Hang on a second.
Awesome.
Hang on a second.
Oh, you're gonna ruin it for me.
Marty! I got you an iPhone 4S from the future, Marty!
That's great, but how is it different from my phone that I have right now?
It's got a new antenna. It's intelligently switching. I can press my finger down here and not kill the network.
That's pretty nice. I hate having that antenna death. That grip of death really does bother me. But what else does it have to offer?
It
looks exactly the same.
Yeah. It's got a 1080p 8-megapixel camera. It captures photons. It's like having a TV studio in your hand.
Okay, that's great, but I can still capture photos on my camera, and they're pretty good.
It's got Siri. Watch this. Siri, remind me to buy more plutonium when I get home.
Here's your reminder for when you get home.
Confirmed.
I think that Siri's going to end up coming to my phone as well.
It's barely working on my phone.
Plus, I can always upgrade to iOS 5 and get all of the iCloud features.
Good point. If you had an iPhone 3GS, it'd be a compelling upgrade.
That would be a great upgrade, but right now, I don't want to be stuck in with my carrier for 2 years or have to pay a lot of money for an unlocked phone when I want to upgrade to the iPhone 5.
Good point.
Because it looks exactly the same.
What about the people on Twitter who want you to upgrade, Georgia?
I know, they scare me.
They found you!
Oh, God.
You get the iPhone 4S! Georgia, Tippy, you get the iPhone 4S!
Forget this. I'm sorry, Renee. I'm getting an iPhone 5 now.
I'm gonna save the
Get back
last
from
little bit for people who actually go watch the video. But that was the gist of it, Seth. The Coles notes.
Oh man, little known fact about me. When I was of Back to the Future enjoying age, I actually had Marty McFly's skateboard. So I was watching.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I think it's still in my garage. Actually, I was watching the video, thinking like, "Oh, it's too bad I could have given him my skateboard. It would have been perfect."
Well, Seth, you have to watch it again because there's something specific to you.
There's some Easter eggs.
All right, I couldn't watch it on the stupid Ustream iPad app that's 35 seconds behind. I'll watch it later.
Nice.
Yeah, you have to take a look and definitely take a look at the outtakes. They were painful, but someone found it very funny.
All right.
All right, next up, we had ZenonTech24 handling the holidays. Georgia, we got email, quite a bit of it, saying it was one of the best episodes ever, and I believe that's because we all found the tragic humor in dealing with our families over the holidays.
Yes, it can be really rough. It's one of those things that you might have tried to avoid someone for a really long time.
And then I show up.
And then you have to deal with it.
So if you haven't already, well, first of all, shame on you. But second of all, go subscribe to Zen and Tech and listen to that episode. It is, again, you laugh when it is happening to somebody else, and then you laugh later after it's happened to you. But a lot of really good tips there.
At least you'll know you're not alone. You're not suffering alone. And then let me know after the holidays if you used the tips and which ones helped you. Ligmo. Yes.
Ligmo.
You have to see the show to understand what that means.
You also ran one of your, I don't know if they're famous or if they're infamous at this point, but you ran one of your polls asking people that now that the iPhone 4S is available on a lot of US carriers, not just the big, well, 3 of the big 4, one regional carrier, how did it turn out?
Well, we ended up with what I think most people would have expected. I was a little bit shocked, but I'll tell you at what. AT&T was at 44%, and that's 2,000 votes. Verizon, 33% with 1,600 votes. Sprint, actually, with 20%. I was a little shocked with how many people have gone over to Sprint or bought the iPhone that didn't have it before. Then T-Mobile, 2%. 100
that's
votes.
Unlocked because they don't officially.
It's unlocked, yes. So it's more expensive. And then C Spire with, I guess averaged out it'll be 1%. 33 votes, but don't count them out.
So the thing with T-Mo is that you have to unlock, and because Apple doesn't support it, you only get 2G. You don't get 3G speed. So you got to want that T-Mo real bad to.
And the iPhone real bad.
To.
That's the one that's dedicated.
Was that? I know you Dave went with the Sprint iPhone, Seth, but were you shocked by any of those numbers?
No, not really. I mean, they kind of look about right to me. Like AT&T probably had the biggest install base to begin with, so they're probably always going to be a little bit higher. And then I think that Verizon probably, just by nature of being the second biggest, is going to be the second biggest. And then I guess I was probably. Well, I guess I'm not really that surprised to see that many on Sprint because I think people were really clamoring for it. So I think it's probably, pretty representative of what people are doing.
Well, other things that people are using is Siri to control the home thermostat via proxy server. So very cool.
You want to see the video?
I really do.
All
Because
right.
this is exactly what I want my phone to go in, that I don't have to worry about doing everything and my phone will be able to control everything. Yes, I'll have to worry about Skynet at some stage, but right now it's great because I hate to be cold, as these arm warmers prove.
Siri,
I don't like to be
Siri?
shitty.
Can you please make me an appointment? Are you Sarah Connor? What? Hey, who flips the Schwarzenegger switch? Are you Sarah Connor?
Right. Well, that's when it's good to have the antenna of death. It's just to fight off.
So, as you may have heard, recently some folks in France, I think that you pronounce it Applidium, maybe, just made some significant progress in essentially understanding and interpreting the Siri protocol. And they provided some really great tools, and from that I was able to start work on what I'm going to demonstrate here, which is a proxy server, a very extensible proxy server for working with Siri and allowing you to extend the functionality of Siri on your iPhone. If you're not familiar with Siri, it lets you do things like, what's the weather like? And it looks up and it figures out your current location. And
here's the weather for today through this Thursday.
Yeah, and so it lets you do that kind of stuff. But what my server lets me do is, as you can see, I can actually see the traffic going across. And there's actually a lot more information going along in the background. This is just what it shows, but see, it lets me see that I'm asking what's the weather like, and from that, and from the fact that I can really interfere with the traffic, I can actually add to it. So the most basic thing I created is just a test that lets me jump in and see if everything's running. Test Siri.
74.5 degrees. The heater is set to engage at 70.0 degrees. The heater is off.
Okay. And you can also even set it like this. Set the thermostat to 72 degrees.
1 moment while I set the thermostat to 72 degrees. The heater has been set to 72 degrees.
And that's
Get the status of the thermostat.
That's kind of really cool. I mean, Seth, we spoke about that on Iterate, which will be up later tonight, but we're starting to head towards a future where maybe the Apple aesthetic and things like Siri will become the norm across not just smartphones, smart tablets, but we'll have all sorts of smart electronics in our house.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just watching this and thinking about it, as great as it is to have an iPhone that can do so much, imagine when it can really interface with all the other things that you have to touch or interact with in the course of a day. You know, like just being able to set it your heat like that is so awesome. My mind just starts going crazy thinking about all the other things I could do with that kind of interaction.
This almost reminds me of we're going the way of WALL-E, where all the people are in the chairs and they don't have to do anything anymore, and they don't have the muscle mass to actually stand up. I'm excited. I can't wait for that day.
You're saying you want to be able to be lazy enough to become like WALL-E.
Not like WALL-E, like the people on the chairs in WALL-E.
Yeah. But I mean, it's an interesting future, and I know, again, we talked about this on Iterate, but you had that Microsoft video about the screens everywhere, and you had the BlackBerry video about the corporations being able to remote wipe your phone everywhere and anywhere. But this is even more interesting to me because it's not an iPad Surface everywhere. It's actually us talking and engaging in almost a more human way with our technology.
It's made much simpler, which is nice because even the thermostat, this thermostat is not that difficult to control, but some of them are more techy than others, so it makes it just easy. So someone that is older, someone that has difficulty getting up, someone that might be paraplegic, this changes the way that they can interact with their home and makes people so much more independent, which, by the way, independency is strongly linked to depression. So if you're not very independent because of an illness, a sickness, getting old, it does actually end up affecting the way that you see things. So it's a nice thing.
And
Siri can make you happier and be your friend.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, Seth, because it will like we spoke about the Nest, where it was Tony Fadell who was the godfather of the iPod, applying an Apple design aesthetic to a thermometer. But that idea, the humanizing and democratizing of technology just around the house. I know there's Android at home, and there's talk we'll get to later about Apple doing more products, but I don't know. It seems like it's something that we saw in movies for a long time and never got around to, and now only slowly are people beginning to explore it.
Yeah, I think it's probably because the software and the devices with which to try to interface with those things weren't really as widespread as they are now. I think it's a lot easier to envision a future where our already connected devices connect to more things, whereas a couple of years ago, when people like us were the only people that even knew what a smartphone was, you would have to envision a future where there was a separate piece of hardware that you would have to buy to do these things. And now that a lot of people have smartphones, and obviously that market is growing by leaps and bounds, I think it's a lot easier to picture that stuff. And also, there's a lot of opportunities there, especially with things like Android and iOS, where so many people have them that it's almost like, like, why wouldn't you want to build for those platforms? Because there's a built-in audience already. You're not building, some third party hardware and software that you have to convince people to get. They've already got one piece of it, and you're just hooking them together with the other piece.
Forgive me for jumping around, but that actually brings up something that made me laugh this week. We've been hearing these rumors about an Apple television for a while, and now an analyst who I believe are statistically as accurate as monkeys flipping coins, people have, I believe, proven that, I don't know, put out a note saying that Apple is about to partner with Sharp to start making this mythical Apple television. And not only is production on this mythical Apple television going to go underway for the near future, but the incumbent soon-to-be competitors, I guess the likes of Sony and Samsung and people who make TV sets now, are scrambling, he said, to try to figure out what Apple's going to do so they can compete with them. And they're going to maybe rush to partner with Android. And this made me almost viscerally angry, to put it in Georgia's terms, because here you have these people who have established television businesses. Sony makes the Bravia line, Samsung, they all have okay televisions. Why are they now scrambling because Apple might get into the race? Shouldn't they have been making the best damn television they could up until now? Why are they waiting for Apple? They should make this space so great that Apple sees no need to enter it. Their lack of future vision, their lack of trying to drag us into the future the way Apple does, kind of really depresses me. I don't want Apple to be the only one who's thinking ahead in these areas.
It proves how much they believe that Apple knows what people are going to want and will do something that will make it, because they don't want to have what happened with the tablet happen again. Whereas they waited, said it's not really going to happen, we don't believe that it's going to be profitable, and then Apple came out with the iPad and changed the whole game. And now they're playing catch up and don't want the same thing to happen. But what it states is two things. One is the amount that Android trusts that Apple knows where people want to be and can make a product that people will like better than the product that they're already using. Because most people already have their television set and will choose to ditch and buy another one. At least that's what they would have to buy into in order to do that.
Because Seth, I think George has got a really good point there, because with the iPhone, Steve Jobs said Apple was 5 years ahead. You have the Galaxy Nexus, great phone. Tablets, everyone knew Apple was making a tablet, but they waited until after the iPad came out to even begin to try to compete with it. And arguably, still, they're not doing a very good job. I mean, Honeycomb wasn't even open sourced. Microsoft is still waiting on Windows 8. It's taking them time. Now, another quote the analyst said is that they don't want to be caught flat-footed. So now they're rushing to compete with a product that does not yet exist. It's almost like Keystone Cops to me at this point.
Yeah, I find their lack of faith disturbing. I really wish that they would look at their markets, the things that they're already good at, and really try to innovate. Right now, like let's take a company like Sony, for instance, just talking about TVs. That's a company that has at least a little bit of brand recognition left.
The
Obviously,
Trinitron, Seth.
They've made some missteps in recent years, but I think for the most part, with the exception of, the real decided nerds who have abandoned the company, most people probably think Sony's still a good brand. instead of trying to take, revolutionary steps forward and really say, okay, let's really try to make this a better experience, they are incrementally playing a game of one-upsmanship with all the other TV companies. And it's basically just bullet points, like we always talk about with all the other phones in the market. It's, slightly better, more pixels, better. Yeah, and frankly, people buy a TV and they have it. And unless you're like a real big AV nerd, that's it. You're done. Like, there's no reason to even think about getting another TV. And they are missing an opportunity to capitalize on this giant gap that exists where people would love to have a better experience. And it's not 3D, because obviously that's not really taken off. People are selling 3D TVs, and I honestly don't know who's buying them, but I have no desire to get one. But I would like a TV that offers me something that's more compelling than the same really confusing remote, probably horrible on-screen, controls and the standard cable experience. But, everybody just decides we're going to inch along until somebody else shows us how to do it, and then we'll try to copy it.
See, this is the thing, George. I had to sit through the CES show because Phil was busy. So I went to the Sony CES show, and Howard Stringer was all about the 3D. What great 3D televisions. That was his. It wasn't like Steve Jobs. I've cracked the interface. I've nailed the remote control thing. He just wanted to show off his next line of 3D TVs. Why isn't he trying to get there first, before Apple, and not just reacting to them?
Okay, well, let's play devil's advocate. Apple has a lot of money, and they can put it into marketing and research and finding out what people need and how to do it better. So, yes, Android could try to, go ahead of the game. So could any other company, but that takes a lot of cash. And some companies, such as RIM, they may not have the kind of money in order to go through with that. And take a look, and you're pretty much putting, like, unless you're really good at figuring out what people want and are able to do it concisely, which Apple's shown a track record that they're able to do, it's throwing money at the wind, because a lot of the products that you're going to think of, so maybe they're going to do a home phone, and they're going to redo the home phone completely and make it something else, or a light switch, and they're going to figure out how to do the light switch, so everyone's going to want this light switch. Something that's going to be easy, going to be manageable, is close enough to the product lines that you're already dealing with, so that you don't have to go through, redesigning something that you already need to know. Instead, Apple can do it for you, and then you follow along and hopefully can figure out how to do it better. Is it really that bad of an idea? Apple has a great track record. If you're going to follow anyone, follow Apple.
I'm tired of people following Apple. Is it the corporate culture, you think? It's just because Apple, like, what's his name? Greg Joswiak, who's the head of marketing for the iPhone, said that they don't really count pennies. They focus on making great products. They believe that if they make a great product, the business will kind of not really take care of itself, but the business case is secondary to making great products. Where in a lot of companies, it's the opposite way. They're like, oh, this panel's too expensive. We'll use a slightly worse panel so we can save 2 cents here. And at the end of the day, it becomes an accounting question and not a product question. And I can't help but think if they kind of took a little bit of the Apple model, like Tony Fadell proved you could do that with the Nest thermostat, we'd have better products from everybody.
That's true, but from a bottom line kind of look, they can wait. Apple has to spend a lot of time marketing and designing and trying to make something better. They can go out. Apple has to jump into the field, take the risk, which they would not have to do, to see if they can actually market it, which was a huge risk for the iPad. If no one had bought it, it would have been one of those, the Apple Cube. It would have been a whole can of fail, and everyone would have been like, oh, Apple, how ridiculous. We told you that wasn't going to work. And then after, all they have to do is sit in the sidelines, see what Apple made, and then make it slightly better and try to outmarket Apple and not have to spend all of the money in design in the manner in which used and the features of which they're going to be part of.
But I think it goes to a bigger problem, which is that the corporate culture at Apple is so different than it is at all these other companies, and their goals are so not aligned with Apple's goals that we're saying these things as though they're even possible in the grand scheme of what these companies think they can accomplish. I mean, the way that Apple thinks about products, the way that they're structured, the way that their decisions are made, all of it. The fact that if someone has a good idea, it very often, bubbles up to the top and gets made, and we see the results of that. In other companies, that just doesn't happen. Things are whittled away to the least important part of them by division after division of oversight, and the other companies can't think about products the way that Apple can. And that's why Apple is so captivating, and that's why people keep copying Apple, because they say, we can't do this. They could do it, but they don't want to actually restructure and rethink about how they're doing things internally to allow those things to happen.
Even Sony, which used to do that, no longer does.
Exactly.
Well, Google's still highly innovative, and they do a lot of things and do them exceptionally well. So I don't know if it's actually that they don't spend the time and market, but they just go at a lot of different things at the same time. So it makes it really hard to...
They don't focus.
They deal with a lot of things that are low on the scale of having to produce. It's not going to cost them a lot of money into going into something like a TV will, which is a huge cost at the beginning. And so they might not do that with that, but they do it with different products and software and applications and Google Earth and Google Sky and some other things that are pretty cool.
You're comparing two fundamentally different things, though. Apple is a hardware company that controls its software experience. Google is a software company that really thrives on advertising. If you want to make a more appropriate comparison, look at a company like Sony that makes hardware and has made its own software.
Arguably makes software.
Yeah, well, let's call it what it is. It's not great software, but they've done it. But they don't mesh those two the way that Apple does. So to make a more accurate comparison, a company like Google is not going to think about things the way Apple does. And Google is very innovative, but they're not. Their goal is not to make an Apple TV before Apple makes a TV. Their goal is to put their software everywhere it can be, and then funnel searches and things back through, their organization. So to say Apple's going up against Google with an Apple TV, like the Google TV that exists in our world now is laughable because it's barely a Google product in that, Logitech made the review. It's obviously a very difficult to use product. Canceled the review. It didn't sell. And now it's kind of like dying on the vine. And what's the next thing? No one really knows. We'll just sit back and wait for Apple to do it.
Let me show you a video. So this is from a competitor to Apple, Samsung. And this is, I guess, the way they are... I'm going to get it queued up here. This is the way that they are going to compete with the iPhone.
Guys, I'm so amped I could stay here for 3 weeks.
9 hours down, and we're almost in the door.
I think 2 people just left.
Why would they be leaving when we're only 9 hours away?
Yeah, I mean, this is an event.
Uh-oh. Blogs are saying the battery looks sketchy.
If it looks the same, how will people know I upgraded?
4G? Is it 4G? It doesn't say.
Whoa. What you got there?
Not sure.
What is that? Guys.
Whoa.
Hey, bro, can we see your phone?
Sure.
Can I see with my hands? Have you seen this thing?
Ooh. Check out the screen. This thing is huge.
It's pretty massive. And it's got 4G speed.
It's magnificent.
Samsung.
Samsung? That's a Samsung. Yeah.
I could never get a Samsung. I'm creative.
Dude, you're a barista.
Why don't you guys just get 4G phones?
Why don't you just get a 4G phone?
Yeah, it's a Galaxy S2. This phone is amazing.
The Galaxy S2 from Samsung.
Now, before we talk about this, we're just going to compare, and let me just make sure I'm recording again. Yeah, we're going to compare and contrast it with this little beauty.
That seems like homework.
Hold on.
There are over 500,000 apps and counting on the iPhone. Apps that can take you anywhere and do anything. You might say there's no limit to what this amazing device can do. So the question to ask is, why would anyone want to limit the iPhone? We don't. Truly unlimited data for your iPhone, only from Sprint.
So two compare and contrasting commercials. Seth, first thoughts?
Well, the first thought I had when watching the Samsung commercial is, that's interesting. What kind of software does it run? And it's like, that never comes up because it's all about the screen and it's so cool and look how great it is. But it's like, that's the first 2 seconds of owning a phone. And then every other thing you do with it is the rest of your experience. And I don't understand why. I guess I understand why, but it's not funny to do that. And Gruber made a good point about it. He says it's like the old Mac versus PC ads, except in those commercials, the PC was the joke. And, the people using the PC were the ones who were like, hey, maybe I should try Mac. And with this commercial, the people, the users, are the joke. They're the butt of the joke. And it makes the users look like idiots. So it's not the same. I didn't really find it funny at all. I mean, there was that one funny part about the dude who was, I can't use a Samsung because I'm creative. And before I could even get my hand up to slap him, that other guy chopped him. So I was like, okay, good. That was a good part of the commercial. But the Sprint stuff is interesting though, because it again kind of plays to the iPhone strengths, which is like you're gonna want to use it because there's a lot you can do with it. So we're not gonna stop you from that.
Is that the big difference, Georgia? Is that the Samsung ad kind of made fun of the core Apple audience and didn't really show you anything about the phone other than its size, and tells you it has a 4G radio. So if you know what that is, they take for granted that you know what that is. So it's a very nerd-centric commercial because you have to understand fanboys and all this kind of stuff. Where the Sprint commercial and Apple commercials in general focus mostly on humans using the phones.
It's an interesting play, is that they're hitting Apple exactly where Apple has its strength, in that the users, in the manner in which what Apple users, how they see themselves. Now, it's a really dangerous play as well, because as Seth had mentioned, you're now insulting the people that you want to switch and buy your product. Like you can say, well, Apple doesn't make people, cool or that or techie, but then you're saying, well, I don't really like the manner in which you enjoy your telephone. So then is your telephone going to be for me? It could backfire quite easily and make people actually so angry that even if they want to switch, and I love a Galaxy S2, I do actually really think it's a beautiful phone and works out really nicely. But it's a dangerous play, but I think that it could be a smart play for some people. I think that in the end, most people are probably a little bit put off by it.
Could it be that they're not going, like, you first watch it and you think they're insulting Apple's core base, calling them a bunch of douches or hipsters or sheep or something. But then I kind of think about it and I wonder, let's say you don't have an iPhone. Like if you have an iPhone, you're watching that, they're calling you, whatever they're calling you, a fanboy. You get kind of offended and you think less of Samsung.
Yeah.
But if you haven't chosen your next phone yet, you're on the fence. Is there a chance you're watching that and you're going, yeah, those Apple people are a bunch of douches. It's all the cool kids have Samsung now. I don't want to be one of those hipsters. I'm buying a different phone. Thank goodness they saved me from a destiny of being a barista.
You're absolutely right. But the one problem with that argument, and I think that is the argument that they're making, they're trying to stop people from buying Apple phones. But in the end, there's already so many people, like you look at the population in general and which people have, if you take a look at each separate phone, if you don't have an iPhone, odds of you going to an iPhone are smaller than those that already have the iPhone experience. So it's such a great pool of people that you are now actually not going to perhaps have a switch, because they're like, really, did you have to do that to me? Did you have to insult the manner in which I enjoy my phone and the experience of it?
I think the funniest part of that commercial is that the people in the line for the phone are all looking up stuff and reading the blogs and being like, oh, it's the same form factor. Oh, the battery's not good. As though Android people never do those things.
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
We have a little
Android
website
users.
called Android Central where they're happy to tell you about volume problems and other issues. Well, here's the thing. JJ Wicks in our chat room is saying that you notice nobody leaves the line, which is kind of not good for Samsung advertising. They should have had some.
That is a good point. That's a really good point.
The other thing that's almost it's also funny about this is that they show off the Galaxy S2 as the next best thing when they've already announced and released in Europe the replacement for this phone, the Galaxy Nexus, which is actually the next best thing. And Google did a really good commercial for the Galaxy Nexus because you see people using the cool features like Android Bump and panorama camera, which actually rhymes, and some other cool things like a facial unlock. So I think that kind of advertising, at least it speaks more to me. Me being able to see the phone doing things speaks more to me than just being called a hipster iSheep douchebag.
Well, the people that they're trying to get away from using the phone are
leaving?
usually going to be people that know. Sorry, no, I'm not leaving. I had to plug in my computer. Sorry. Already know about the phone and what they're wanting. So, who are they actually targeting this to?
It's a good point. I'm always curious as to marketing choices that are made when you cease to talk about what's good about your product and you just poke fun at other things and or people.
It's
like
a
if
number
that's
two play.
if that's the position you're taking, that to me speaks volumes about your confidence in your product.
It's like Apple did with the Mac commercials.
Someone in the chat room saying the funniest part of the commercial is how will people know I upgraded? Was actually one of my issues. I'm sorry. I know.
Yeah, well, you're a totally shallow person,
Yes.
so that's
Scratch Georgia's surface. What do you find?
more stinking surface.
Don't scratch my phone surface because then I'm upset.
Yeah. Yeah. The Apple commercials with the I'm a Mac, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC was very similar, but that is, you only do those commercials when you're conceding that you're number two. Like Apple's market share was insignificant compared to Windows. It was almost like Windows had 90% plus of the market share. Samsung is not in a position where Apple has 90% plus of the market share. I mean, they're not in a good, Apple has a huge profit percentage, but it was an interesting choice. I'm going to move us along just for time's sake. We did the top 10 apps for new iPhone users. And it's something we get asked a lot. And one of the things about the iPhone is that while other platforms, usually some people will switch to an Android device, or if you had Windows Mobile, you'll switch to Android or maybe BlackBerry. But the iPhone attracts a lot of first-time smartphone users and a very mainstream set of people. Far more, it's not just nerds and geeks who buy iPhones. My sisters, my mom. It's Mickey Papillon's business partner. It's a whole wide range of people. And we get asked, you buy it, what apps should you put on it? So we put this together, and I'm going to just switch over to it. But we put together the top 10 apps for new iPhone users, and it's a bit of a cheat because there's actually 50 of them. There's one main pick in 10 categories and 4 follow-up picks. But I want to go over some of them and maybe get your guys' takes. So we started off with a category for which Georgia will have no opinion, social networks. And the big player there, obviously, is still Facebook. It's the most popular app, I believe, cumulatively in the history of the iPhone. And you have a couple other things like LinkedIn and Tweetbot, Find My Friends. But Seth, if you had a new iPhone user and they were asking you, like when Dave picked up the iPhone and he wanted to get social with it, what would you recommend?
Well, I don't think I'd recommend Facebook. That's like,
recommending a dentist appointment?
Yeah. Hey, I recommend you chew on this broken glass for a while. No, it's really good. Trust me. I would. Well, if they're already on Twitter, I would definitely say Tweetbot, and that's what the two of them are using now. Dave and Justin pretty much got back into Twitter because they were like, "Wow, Tweetbot's really nice." Find My Friends is cool, but I don't really use it with anybody. But it's kind of a nifty thing. I mean, Facebook's like, it's the given, right? Everybody has it, is on it, and it's just going to go on your phone. I think something slightly more interesting, something like Tweetbot is probably a good starting point. But then, again, it's predicated on whether or not they're on Twitter.
So more up Georgia's alley, casual games. And it surprised me because we did a list last year for the iPhone 4, and Angry Birds was top of the charts. A year later, and Angry Birds is still top of the charts with several different variations, George. We did pick some other stuff like Cut the Rope, Plants vs. Zombies, Tiny Wings, Siegecraft, which you recommended. But it seems to me like the casual games, the top ones, they're kind of classics. They're kind of staying in the top.
Which is sad because they haven't made any other casual games in which have been able to beat them. So yes, Angry Birds, if you enjoy shooting little birds at things, Cut the Rope is a really simple game that you can pick up and put down. Plants vs. Zombies is an amazingly fun game. It has its own update, so that's nice. If you haven't already taken a look, you can. It's not for the iPad, but it is for the iPhone, the update. And I love the game. I was completely addicted to it. Tiny Wings, a lot of fun, exceptionally cute and simple. And Siegecraft is a tower defense game, slightly more stressful. And actually, I had to stop playing it because it's a real-time tower defense game, and so my stress level went up, and I'm like, really? I don't need that while I'm going through it, as I'm trying to use all of my trebuchets and everything else to destroy
Tiny
things.
Wings is really the only kind of new entrant in that category. I'm surprised
It's not that new. Like, it's new-ish.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of them. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a ton of casual games. Just none of them has succeeded in dethroning these guys from the top. So hopefully in the next year, they'll do that. Communication apps. Skype, obviously. Skype, to me, is like democracy. It sucks, but it sucks less than every other entrant, that we've come up with to date. And then we have stuff like Beehive IM, which can do almost everything, versus Verbs, which Seth likes, which can't do as much, but looks really good. Google Voice, especially if you've come over from Android, but just in general, if you're in the US and you want a more phone-like thing. And WhatsApp, which is close to BlackBerry Messenger. If you came over from the BlackBerry, it's a BBM, superficially BBM-like experience. I use Skype a lot. We use it for the show. We use it for a lot of things. It's mostly we spoke about this the other day. It's mostly my chat client of choice.
Well, we've gotten rid of our long distance, and we just use Skype. So it saved us a ton of money.
Yeah, I've had a Skype number and account for years, like 5, 6, 7 years. It's a good standard to have. I use it a lot.
And it's the sound quality is really good. It's reliable.
The entire country of Estonia coding that sound codec, according to them.
Hmm.
Productivity apps. Apple finally brought Numbers, Pages, and Keynote to the iPhone, and they sync via iCloud. We also pointed out Goodreader, which is a powerhouse. It can unzip files. It can annotate PDFs. Evernote, which is it's not the most powerful note-taking app, but it can do stuff like take a photo and extract the text from the photo, so it's useful. Elements, which syncs with both Dropbox and does Markdown, so it had me at hello. And To Do, which is from Apago, which is more, if you need something more powerful than reminders. Is there anything particularly productivity-wise you're looking at, Seth?
The only other thing I would have added was probably something like a Documents to Go, if you're really looking for something like that, because that syncs to Dropbox and that has a little bit more, kind of Microsoft Office-y feel, if that's the kind of thing you need. But no, I think you pretty much had it covered. Goodreader is an outstanding app that connects to a million different kinds of servers, opens up a million different kinds of files, and just has all kinds of goodies baked in.
If you know what WebDAV is, it does it.
Yeah.
We actually had Documents to Go in that position last year, but Apple's, just because it's new and it's iCloud enabled, kind of edged it out this year. Back in Georgia's wheelhouse, we have action and arcade games. Infinity Blade, still, I think, one of the best looking games, only about to be eclipsed by Infinity Blade 2, which we saw another visual teaser for. Some people are complaining, Georgia, that the gameplay is too much like the original Infinity Blade. And I think that's true, because it looks like they're more concerned with rendering at this point. Half their video is about how the light gets diffused and deflected by characters on the screen.
Yes, the only thing that I would say about Infinity Blade, it is highly repetitive after a while. So unless, if you love hack and slashing things, this might keep you going for a while. And it's absolutely stunning. It's just, to show off the graphics, amazing, amazing game, but repetitive. Real Racing 2, love it. If you love car racing, it's a great game. And I actually enjoyed it. I'm not a huge car racing fan, but I enjoyed Real Racing 2.
We also had, just before Phil Nickinson emailed me a picture. He's been playing Infinity Blade on his iPad. And he actually got the holiday helmet, so he has a big turkey head on his character right now.
That's awesome.
They do keep.
He should use that for his avatar.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We also have Street Fighter 4 Volt, Extraction Project Outbreak, which is kind of like the top-down 3D action game, and Atari's Greatest Hits, which I know Georgia is still a fan of. I don't know if the iPhone screen is too small for you with that, George, but it's great to have all those kind of classic arcade games in a highly portable format.
Yes, for sure. It's nice to have them with you, especially the Atari games, because they're simple. You can pick them up, put them down. It doesn't take a lot of know-how in order to start the game. So I really enjoy that for it. And if you grew up with Atari, it also gives you that warm factor of childhood.
it proves, and I know Seth knows this, but I'm going to say it anyway. It proves that they didn't have any fancy graphics, no 3D. It was highly pixelated, almost no colors, and the gameplay was just so fantastic. I did not care, and I don't care still.
I did. I went back and I played Adventure, which is probably has the your person is actually just a square. There's no shape, and you're just a square. And I still absolutely adored it. It had the puzzles, it has the people, it has the little dragons, and the fabulous sound effects, which I actually really like. So,
at the risk of sounding like an old fart, I will say this. Graphics do not make the game. Gameplay makes the game. There are games that have hideous graphics that are way more compelling than some of the stuff you can buy now.
Exactly. I agree.
Back in my day, we didn't care about no fancy-dancy 3D graphics. It took a day to boot up our console, and we liked it fine.
We had to blow on our cartridges.
Music apps. This time, Chris Parsons, Blaze, he said we should give Rdio the top spot because, it's not as famous as Pandora or Slacker or Spotify, but he really liked the social networking aspects and the ability to discover new music. We also have GarageBand, which Apple just recently brought to the iPhone and lets you do a lot of sort of music recording, mixing, creating songs right on your iPhone. DJ for if you're at a party and you want to get your classic old style mixing going on. MadPad from Smule, who makes fantastic sort of social music games. This one lets you make basically a music board out of any sounds around you and then mix those up. And Shows, which is from a local Montreal developer that I quite like. It kind of lets you, it searches your iTunes library and then lets you know when any of those people in your library are in concert near you, so you can check them out. And I know you're a huge music fan, Seth. So what is jumping out at you for music these days?
Well, like it says, Pandora does get a lot of attention, but they've recently dropped their 40-hour streaming limit for free members. So I still tell people to get that, as soon as they get a new phone. It's like, oh, get Pandora on there because that's worth having. And it's very cool because once you spend time with Pandora and you kind of train your stations for a little while, you get some really, really good stuff. But GarageBand, especially on the iPad, but even very much on the iPhone, is a fantastic app. It's just so much fun to mess around with, even if you're not doing anything seriously. It's just so cool.
I'm going to show the next one just because the picture is so darn cute. This is the last one we'll do today. We'll continue on next time. But this is Instagram with I'm going to get in trouble for saying it. Lila Lofty. I hope I said that right.
That's it. You did it.
Yeah, and
that's so cute.
Yeah, Leanna loved Instagram. She thinks it's so easy to share stuff. Also recommended Photogene 2, which is really a powerhouse now for editing. Camera Plus, jam-packed with filters and kind of high-level photography stuff, as high level as you can get on an iPhone. Hipstamatic, which lets you take all your sort of old toy-style camera pictures. And Flickr for iPhone if you're heavily invested in Flickr. I think the iPhone 4S is really like a breakthrough device for photography, like mobile photography, because it's the first phone that we filmed that Tippy TV entirely with iPhone 4S and even some iPhone 4 shots, which I could never imagine doing with a 3GS or any other previous camera phone. So I think it's
I could imagine doing it, but it'd be a nightmare.
Yeah, Brad in the chat room likes Camera Plus as well. So, I mean, there's a lot more. Obviously, there's another bunch of apps. We did internet apps and video apps and navigation apps. So make sure you check out it. You can find all of our lists at tippy.com/top5. Check those out. What else do you have for us, Georgia? I kind of got too entranced in that.
Well, we have a giveaway right now. If you like the retro, we've been doing a lot of retro today. We have the pop phone. So we are giving one away. So you can take a look. They come in all kinds of different colors. They plug into the top of your phone. If you don't have an iPhone, that's okay. You can still use it.
Can I say the full name because I love it?
Sure, please.
Native Union Moshi Moshi Retro Pop Handset for iPhone.
So yeah, it uses the 3.5 millimeter. It will fit with everything, and it's really nice. If you're worried about keeping your phone too close to your head, you don't have to. Answer's really nice. The sound is exceptionally good. And you can listen to your music on it as well. And you look, yes, if you are a barista and want to look hipsterish, this is the phone for you.
If you want to retaliate against Samsung.
Exactly.
Don't forget to wear your arm warmers when you're using it.
I love my arm warmers. I do. I
Ballet
love my...
jazz. Yeah, so you've done a review, Georgia, and a giveaway for this?
Yes, you can take a look. We did a review with the video so you can see how they use. The only thing with this phone, though, is that there is no holder for it. So when you are carrying it around, you have to put it somewhere. So I ended up just designing, this was really quickly done, but I'll just show you. It's just a regular clip with a, this was actually from one of my Gola bags, which is the next thing that we did the review from. And then you can just move it to whatever level you want, hook it onto your pants, your phone hangs, and you can answer it just like anything else.
That's so phone hacker.
Yeah, it was simple and easy, and the carabiner will hook into anything at all, so you can put it onto your pants, you can put it into if you have a clip on something, and then you can adjust to make sure if you really don't. Yes, exactly. If you don't want the phone to go, you can just move it all the way down, and easy access. So
nice. And you mentioned Gola bags. We're giving Gola bags away. Are we just giving everything away today?
Yes, I have to say, I love Gola bags. They come in every single shape, size.
You once said that
Texture
if Sarah
and
Collar
color.
had an iPad bag, it would be a Gola bag.
Yes, it would be. So you can take a look, and they're soft. They will protect your phone. You do have to open them up, though. You cannot answer your phone with inside the Gola bag, but they're beautifully, beautifully made.
And we have a contest going on, like Georgia said. All you have to do is go and read Ali's review, then head on over to the Tippy store, find the Gola bag section. There's actually a link right in the post that'll take you to the Gola bag section. Find the one you like best, put the link in the comments, and tell us why you like it, and we will pick a couple people and send them Gola bags.
Exactly, and why not? Like, this is the season in order to enter everything. We will be giving away some amazing things. So enter everything that you can, and they make fabulous gifts. Like, this is just really cool. Really cool, or if it's way too hippie for you, that's fine. But, and then the Gola bags are a beautiful gift because it'll also work with any phone. So it doesn't matter if they use an iPhone. If they don't use an iPhone, the Gola bags will fit.
What do you mean don't use an iPhone? I'm confused. What else would you use?
I don't know, but just saying,
Like a house phone or something with a cord? No, it's silly. Get an iPhone. It's just silly. Motorola flip phone? No. Yeah, get an iPhone. Just saying. It's the holidays. Have someone buy you an iPhone.
Right. And we will be putting up a review soon for the Draco, right, Renee?
Yes, you've actually shot it. We just have to edit it and get it up. But you've had that on for a while. You don't usually keep cases on for a while.
I don't. This case is, I really like the case. I'm quite attracted. It's a beautiful case.
Hold it a bit closer.
Doesn't slip out of my hands. It's stunningly beautiful. Feels really nice. And I love the coloring on it.
Nice.
So this is the Draco case.
So we'll get the review up. Maybe you'll tell us about it next week.
That we shall.
We also have some jailbreak news. Infiniboard has been updated to version 1.8 and now fully supports iOS 5. I would ask Georgia if she has tried it on iOS 5, but she is not running iOS 5 yet, so it is a moot point. Do you guys use Infiniboard?
Nah, I never did.
No, Georgia, neither?
No.
The idea of Infiniboard is that you can scroll. You don't have to be limited to just the amount of apps you can put on the screen. You can scroll around and have additional apps on each home screen.
Yes, I actually have had Infiniboard for a little while, and then my phone died. We went through a whole bunch of things, and I didn't re-download it, but I did, and it was really nice.
Yeah, you can vertically scroll around, simple flick. If you've been waiting for Infiniboard on your iOS 5 jailbroke's device, you can rush and go get it. Ali also wrote up blurred NC background, which if you don't like, and we've had this debate on Iterate a lot, Apple, meaning Steve Jobs, really liked the linen texture, so much so that it is pandemic. It has overtaken everything in Mac OS 10 and in iOS. And if you don't like it, this tweak will, instead of putting up the linen, it'll just blur out your iPhone screen. So you can check that out too. If linen truly offends you and you want to remove it from Notification Center, you can check out, I'm going to say the name again, blurried NC background.
So it's still there, it's just blurry.
Well, the linen's gone. No, it shows your actual home screen and icons blurred, not the linen. The linen is banished. Get thee hence, linen. What tips do you have for us this week, G?
We have daily tips, how to change the amount of lines shown in an email preview, which is a really nice tip because sometimes you want to be able to show more lines than you would want. And sometimes if you are around with anyone else and you don't want, because again, it's a pop-up, so other people might see it, you know what? I think that I'm going to keep it to one line. But if you want to have to be able to see your email really quick and you can give it to 4 lines, you can put it out as well. I like that.
It's interesting. It's an interesting dilemma because if you're in a meeting and you're getting business email, it probably, you don't want to have to open the app and look like you're not paying attention. So if you see a preview that has like a nice beefy 5 lines, you can really get a sense of that email. But if your phone is like on the table in that meeting and it's your significant other emailing you saying, oh, I just can't wait till I get you home and then, yada, yada, yada. It is slightly less useful to you in that scenario. And unfortunately, you can't. Can you dynamically assign it per account? I believe you can.
No,
Not
I don't
that
think so.
I know of. No, there might be a
universal.
jailbreak for that, but I don't believe that you can actually do that. Now, Seth, do you have notifications for your emails?
Yeah, I do. I only have visual ones, though. I have no sound that goes off, so if I'm not looking at my phone, I won't know until I pick it up, because emails just, it piles up. So I look at my phone enough. I don't need to know every time something comes in. But I do have them kind of stack up, yeah.
Do you show the lines?
I show 2.
Me too. Captain Default for the win.
Well, you do it because it's Captain Default. I do it because I've discovered that that's exactly the amount I kind of want.
You ran an algorithm to determine the exact amount that gives you enough information but not too much. Very well played, sir.
Well, the reason
if you're going to insult Seth in an email, make sure it's on the first 2 lines.
Yeah.
The reason I do that is because in my inbox, if I do a larger preview, while it works very well in a notification, then I only get like 4 messages on the screen instead of like 6 or 7.
You used a tape measure, didn't you?
No, I did not. Maybe.
Now, you have, Renee,
Yes.
You found out something really interesting, and I think this is a great public service announcement for everyone, that sharing your iPhone as contacts also shares your Siri relationships. What exactly does that mean? And yeah, here we come up with just a little tiny thing that could end up with a huge issue.
So in all fairness, this was Seth who discovered it. He asked me...
Oh, was it Seth? Sorry,
yeah,
Seth.
He asked me for my contact information. So me being lazy, I didn't want to type out my address. So I just I went to contacts. I picked my own contact card. I used share and I sent it to him over iMessage. And he's like, worked. For your information, it includes everything, including all of those serial relationships et al. So now I have a complete picture of your life in case I decide to fatal attraction you.
But in all fairness, Renee, shouldn't have you known that your own personal contact does have all of that there? Like, would this be, and I guess it would not be as obvious as it seems, but that is where you wrote all of your relationships in the first place.
I'm not talking about fairness. Like, I'm not blaming anybody.
Oh, sorry.
This is a public service announcement because people may not because before the iPhone 4S, the relationship fields weren't that important. But with Siri, if I say call my mom, I want to fill out, or like call my girlfriend, I want to be able to fill out. I want Siri to be able to understand and call the right number, so I'm more likely to fill out those fields. And instead of sending a default amount of fields, the iPhone is sending everything. And my opinion is that Apple shouldn't be sending everything. It should be sending your basic phone number, address, the core things. I don't necessarily think that I would ever want to share my Siri relationships with somebody, whether they're business or a friend. So
Right.
I was a little bit surprised. I didn't think about it. It is my bad, but I thought I would save somebody else potentially more because, just Seth got it. So I just have to worry about a supervillain having my information. But
Right,
exactly. Just mistress number 1, mistress number 2, mistress number 3 could get you into a lot of trouble. So I guess a nice workaround for that would be to make a separate contact.
Yeah.
You like work Renee, and
Yes.
and that would be the one that you would send, and it would only have the most basic of information of which you would want.
But the side effect with that is I'll say, Siri, like, for example, let's say I have two contacts. I have one from my sister and one for my sister's work when I only want to share certain contact information. Siri, call my sister. Which number would you like? Which card? I mean, it starts to...
Well, no, it wouldn't, because you would call yourself something different than your own contact.
Work
sister. So you wouldn't have to worry about that. No, the contact in your basic card would be exactly the same. So that would still be your default card, and that's where Siri will get all of the information. And then you put a dot Renee, so it's not Renee to Siri, or dot Renee Tippy, whatever it so may be. So it's a different name to Siri, and it would not be getting your relationships from that card. Only you would know that you use it.
Instead of Stephen Colbert, I'll have my personal one as Esteban Calverto.
That's it.
Sam in the chat room is saying, if you've set your Siri relationship for your boss as jerkface, just be very careful you don't email that card.
And don't do it in front of him.
No, yeah, definitely. Email jerkface's card. Emailing your boss your card. Oh, no. What's up in the forums, Georgia?
Well, we have icons. We have the best navigation applications. And we have an iPod 2 forum, an iCloud forum. We have apps, games. It is the place that you can get all types of information, and though we have a lot of things on the regular blog that you can find out, if you have a question, our readers are so much brighter than we are. Well, at least than I am. And so you can take a look there and you can discuss things. So, and you can see also on the website different things that are trending in the forum, so you can then jump right on in. Don't even worry about it. It's easy to register. And
we have some great new forums. Like we have a photography forum, we have a cooking and foodie forum, we have a movie and TV forum. If you want to, we have a business forum. So if you want to get, like, you've already bought your iPhone, you've got your apps, you're sitting at it going, bored now, what's next? Hop on over there, because there is so much that you can do with your. You can make silly Back to the Future sketches. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Exactly.
All right, I think we have come to the end of another fine feathered edition of iPhone Live. Seth Clifford, sir, where can I find out more about you?
You can find me on Twitter at Seth Clifford. You can find me on iPad Live and Iterate with Renee and Mark Edwards of Bajango. And if you want to check out some of the sites and apps that we build, please visit our site, nfidm.com. We're Nickelfish. Damn it.
And Georgia, where can we find out more about you?
You can find me on Twitter at GeorgiaTIPB. You can also find me on the blog, and you can find me on the shows, iPad Live, iPhone Live, Zenitech, and Girls Gone Gadgets.
There's a rumor that there'll be another Girls Gone Gadgets next week. Do you want to confirm or deny that?
I will not confirm or deny, but yes.
Nice. You can find me at Renee Ritchie on Twitter. You can find all of us at Tippy on Twitter. You can email us at podcast@tippy.com, or you can leave a comment when the show goes live on the blog. You can email us your questions. Just get us your questions any way you want. You can even take a voice memo and email us that, and we might even play it on the show. I'm just saying. You can find all of our shows at mobilenations.com/shows, including Android Central, Crackberry.com, Zenitech, Superfunctional, Iterate. We've just launched Stock Talk. We're going to be launching an enterprise show soon. We have way more things to come. If you haven't already, please go to iTunes. Please subscribe to the show. Please leave a rating. We have a new video feed now, so you can subscribe to the video version of the show in RSS or in iTunes, so subscribe to that as well. We are here every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, www.tippy.com/live, and our companion show, Georgia?
It is iPad. Did you say? Didn't you already say iPad Live, or did you say iPad Live?
I set you up beautifully, and you just...
Did you? I'm sorry. Did I totally blow it? Go ahead. Intro it again.
And our companion show, Georgia?
iPad Live. Same bad time, same bad channel for all of your iPad needs.
Nice. And I'd like to thank the Tippy iPhone accessory store for sponsoring this podcast, and to everyone who showed up for the live chat. You are the most awesome audience on the interwebs. We love having you here. And you correct all our mistakes behind the scenes, so people who actually see the podcast think we're smart, and we appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. And help us with our sound and video quality, and give us fabulous ideas of how we can make the show better. So send them in. We appreciate it.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for being here.
See you guys.
Bye.